provincial program, and nonprofits and co-ops totally do their best in the development of providing homes.
In Canada, 90% of housing is built by the private sector, more than that, and that's not likely to change. I have watched, I have never seen a public sector funded solution as the only solution to work. Public sector funding was really needed for people who have more than economic barriers, who need supports, who are fragile, who have mental health or developmental challenges, and that's where we really got to concentrate. I think you only have to look at Regent Park and what Mitch Cohen and Daniels has done, what Christian Resource Center, and what the people of Regent Park and Diane McLean have done to understand what hope is all about. That's an amazing transformation, and we're about to do it again from scratch in the West Don Lands, because the private sector is coming there. We have 243 units being built right now at 539 King. We have 1,500 units now at one stage of the roads being built, the buildings, the Pan Am villages being built, and that's coming. And the neighborhood, people who live in that neighborhood already know that because they're already participating in it. On Cherry Street, around the corner from me, around 39 Parliament, one of my Clavey's meetings, I live right across the street from, Rakai and Wood Green are building supported housing right now on provincial land. We have 6 other parcels of land in my neighborhood, so our neighborhood in Corktown will soon have the same kind of profile of affordability that Regent Park does. And I believe that if you re-elect me, we'll do even more in the next 4 years. And Moss Park and St. Jamestown will look exactly as good, because we're not using any, but out of all the tools again, we're using one of the tools in the toolkit. And I just haven't advocated for housing. I've actually led governments and partnerships and not-for-profit organizations that have actually done this. And we can do it, and we will do it.
We'll take one more question, and then we got to do, here, I'll hold the microphone for you.
Did you read it for it?
Oh, you're going to read it? Okay, sorry. Yeah.
The intersection between housing and
You might know that I'm starting a doctorate that will focus on housing. My research will be about the intersection between housing and gender and other identities. We know that housing need is explicitly linked to gender, disability, aboriginal status, etc. Yet, when your government released its so-called housing strategy, it contained absolutely no human rights analysis. Why?
did you get that? There was no human rights when you read the question again. When the government released its so-called housing strategy, it contained absolutely no human rights analysis. Why?
It's a very, very good point. I have not seen a housing policy yet with a human rights component right in the policy. I mean, there's very strong human rights legislation, but I think it's an excellent idea. I'm a great believer in citizens' bills of rights for housing and rights of tenants. I also believe that more than bills of rights or human rights is that tenants can't just be treated like serfs. They actually have to have control and choices over their housing and how housing works, which is why I think co-ops are so powerful when they're well run. And we even know with co-ops, there's challenges. People can be marginalized and disenfranchised in that. So what I'm trying to say is what we're trying to do through community planning, which is by actually using the model of not government telling people what to do in neighborhoods, but a number of you in this room have been involved in the rounds of work with Councilor Montana, myself, and Councilor McConnell in actually redefining not just on more funding for housing and using the tools and land and ability to do that, but actually looking at models of governance so that, you know, it's not that you, though I think that human rights is really an important one, but that you're actually in charge. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you know, the neighborhood I used to live in, called West Broadway, people actually ran their own community housing. They ran their own housing co-ops. They ran their day co-ops. We weren't treated like they needed the state to make decisions for them. And I think that's a fundamental shift that we don't yet have in Ontario. The Premier believes in this. It was one of the reasons he asked me to run last year. And I am bound and determined to change the basic fundamental dynamics of who gets to decide what about housing.
So you may know that Sherry Noble proposed Toby's Wage Law, which is about inclusion of transgendered people in the Ontario Human Rights Code. And that was not supported by conservatives or the Liberals. So that will be something that we will continue to work on. Right now, housing is not a human right in legislation, and a number of organizations involved in sponsoring today's event have come together to launch a charter challenge on the constitutional right to housing. And that is coming, and it will be tabled this fall in the courts, and I'm happy to say I will probably be a witness on the health issues related to that. So it's coming, we have to fight for it, and that's probably the most important question of the night, Colin, the question of human rights, because that's what having a home is a human right.
Indeed, thanks very much. And thanks again for everyone who asked a question. Sorry to those who didn't get a chance, and maybe the candidates will stick around for a bit. You could get a chance to ask them a question after. But we do have to give all the candidates a chance to make a 1-minute closing statement. We'll go in the same order that we went in before in the interest of fairness. So, Kathy, you get 1 minute to finish up. Sure.
So I've never had a toolkit or a toolbox, but I had my black bag, a nursing knapsack that I've used over the years, and I've taken it to press conferences, and I used it to show what a street nurse had to carry to deal with homelessness, health issues. And so I don't think we're here tonight to talk about what we read on the business pages, that housing starts are up or housing starts are down. I think everyone in this room is here about the principle of affordable and safe housing, accessible housing for people in need. But for people in need, but for all of us, right? That's why I live in co-op housing. We have to end discrimination against people who live in co-op housing or Toronto community housing. We have to go beyond words and reports. And we have to go beyond like a paragraph. Words are great, but we have to go to action and to the work. And I put to you that I think you know that I have worked on this issue, and I've had successes on this issue, and I will definitely do that at Queen's Park. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kathy. Mark, do you want to come up and for 1 minute statement?
Thank you all very much for coming out tonight. It's a very important issue. I would like to take a look at our platform and take a look at my website, markday.ca. I have learned a lot. This is my very first debate, and I'm just really happy to be here. I look forward to hearing any questions or comments you may have. Please feel free to get in touch with me. Thank you.
Thanks first of all to all of you. I am incredibly optimistic and extremely hopeful that we can continue to create change, but in a different way. I think we're in Toronto Centre right now, so many of you in this audience working in leadership roles in the community planning process, co-ops, and housing, at the Wellesley Institute doing such extraordinary research. It is more than words. We actually now have plans for building. We've actually got projects underway. We have an extraordinary partnership just in Corktown and West Don Lands at seeing Mackay Centre and Wood Creek and new partnerships. So we have new RFPs up. But rather than waiting for someone to do something to us, we're front and loading that. Those housing plans that we're working on will be in a contract between you and me, our city councilors who are willingly signed on to it, and our create resilient neighborhoods. Never again do we want to see a conservative government. We don't ever want to have an NPP who shut down 17,000 affordable housing units again. Let's not forget how stark those processes can be. Thank you.
I just wanted to remind you about the election coming up, that there's a great danger of us having, another 3 levels of neo-conservative government in Ontario and It's a pretty scary thought. However, I don't find that the Liberals are any better, because there's been a long period in office where we've seen nothing but scandals and broken promises, and the candidate is making a lot of promises, and he's got a honeyed tongue, but I don't know whether I believe him or not. And you know, the big capitalist parties, they can buy the election actually, and a lot of you will have seen these things in the Metro, where they pretended that it was the front of the paper. Everybody in the city reads this on the way to work, right? Both the Liberals and the Tories did this. And that was to cost big bucks, and that's not to mention all the TV ads and the mudslinging that they do. So I would say, go to our website, there's a full platform there, votecommoners.ca. Thank you.
Paul, if you want to come up and give us a closing statement, thanks.
In the next few years, we're going to have a major problem with seniors. We should start planning for that now. IBM recently put together a computer to beat a number of Jeopardy contestants. That IBM is now called Dr. Watson, and it's being used for diagnostic purposes for medicine. It's already much, much better than the diagnostic ability of the average physician. If the government went and worked with alternative processes as well as traditional medicine and put that in a computer, within a few years, people could walk in the bathroom with their hands in pads and feet on a pad, look into a mirror, and a computer would tell them what food they ate too much of, what they need to eat, the pharmaceuticals if they need them, what exercise they need. All this data can be put together with proper documentation. I suggest that the governments do that.